well, you might be gearing up for some summer travel with your Nintendo Switch 2. So we thought we'd come and share our Ultimate Switch 2 travel guide.
Yes, this is a perfect video for us to be making now because you just got back. You were in Canada for a week.
My first international trip with my Switch 2.
Your first flight with the Switch 2, international trip. And by the time this video is out,
you're on a trip.
I'm going to be on a trip. I'm going to France.
Yes.
So I'm gearing up for a very long airplane flight over the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes. And you're going to be like away from home.
Exactly.
For 2 weeks with your Switch 2.
So you
got to get set up.
We have put a lot of thought into what do you need to travel with a Switch 2 that we want to share with all of you today.
Exactly.
Yes. So I don't know. Some people may not have this. So just like I want to start by going through some of the basics of like if you are going to travel, whether it's a long or short trip, like what is the bare minimum that you should plan to bring with you?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, bare minimum for me at least is the number one thing is just have a case for your Switch.
Yes.
Don't just throw your Switch like into your backpack or something like that. That would be bad. So we have different cases. I'm still using the Genki Sleeper case, which is nice. It's hard. It protects the Switch. The only thing is that it's a little bit big. And if you like, it can the Switch kind of rattles around a bit in there is the only thing. But it definitely protects it and, it's not going to just damage my Switch while I'm like throwing my luggage around and stuff like that.
And it has some space for games.
Yes, it does have space for games on the inside.
You got a cloth there.
I have this to wipe my screen with because my screen always gets grody. But yeah, that's like definitely at least have something to protect your Switch and don't just throw it in the back.
Right, and then this one that I've been using is, this is a hard case from a company called JSOX. And
I like that.
I like how small and compact it is. And when I had the Switch 1, I had a much bigger case, and it would everything else I was putting into a backpack, it would start to get kind of a tight fit. Yeah. But I found that putting this, this is so much more compact, and you can hear it, when
it's not rattling.
There is no movement of the system at all, and
there's
even
room for
when you
games.
open it up, the physical games can go there. So I like the feeling of it being very protected, but also being very small.
Yes.
So there's a million different, soft cases, kind of harder soft cases, shells.
Yeah.
There's so many out there that you can definitely find something that you think looks cool, is in your budget, has all the bells and whistles that you need. There do also have those really big, all-in-one cases where it's you can fit a dock and a controller. I'm not going to be going that heavy. I'm planning to just go handheld entirely on this trip. But if you think that's something you need versus just throwing it all in a backpack or a suitcase, they do have those standalone things there.
Yeah, just remember that on an airplane, you can only bring 2 things with you. So
there's
just
only
want to
so
make sure you have all your stuff in a way where you can take your Switch onto the plane with you, obviously, because you're going to want to play it on the trip over. So yeah, I generally travel pretty light in terms of taking games and stuff with me, so I don't bring my dock or anything like that. I have seen people do crazy stuff, I'm taking my PS5 with me on this trip. I'm like, how?
Wow. Okay.
I am not that kind of person.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if you did want to bring your whole setup, if you're going somewhere and you're going to be there for a really long time, you want to bring your whole setup, there are cases for that too.
Right. Something else, again, if you haven't taken your Switch out yet, you may not have it, just a screen protector.
Yes, there's
and again,
a million of these.
People have different feelings on whether they need this or not. I think we both are in the camp of, yes, we really do.
Yeah.
And these are very inexpensive. They're around $10-ish. This is one that you just kind of put right on, but there are now all these versions that have these applicators that put it on very cleanly, very precisely.
Mine is so precisely on that sometimes I forget I have it.
And then you just don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't notice any degradation of the image quality or the touch.
Touching is fine, but then your stuff is just not going to get scratched, which is really
And again,
really
when
nice.
you're talking about,
I forget sometimes that I even have one on here.
Right, when you talk about you're leaving the house, you're putting it into a case, I think that the chances of some sort of a scratch situation happening are just a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Charging cable is important, especially
for a Switch 2.
And we'll talk about why in a little bit, but what is the cable that you travel with for your Switch 2?
So luckily, my laptop, I have a MacBook Pro, It has USB-C to the MacBook Brick.
Oh, perfect.
That has enough power, which we will also talk
Yes.
about in a second here, because the Switch 2 does use quite a bit more power than a Switch 1. So you just want to make sure your Brick has enough juice
Yes.
to charge your Switch. But because I don't want to carry around like multiple chargers, I'm not carrying around like the actual Switch 2 AC adapter. I'm just carrying around my plug and USB-C cable that works for all of my devices. That's another good travel hack. Just one plug that works for all of your devices.
Exactly.
Good thing that this is USB-C. Lots of devices, pretty much all devices these days are USB-C, so you're good there. But that's what I've been using. I use that on an airplane. The airplane plug, usually airplanes now have plugs in your seat. I use that setup of a MacBook Pro Brick with a USB-C cable into my Switch, and no issues. It charged it. It was totally fine on that long flight.
Yeah, my Mac actually has a different output
Yeah.
plug, so I can't do that. I'm just going to bring on my trip the standard Switch 2 plug.
Yeah.
And then I can use that to charge the
yeah.
Switch 2. I can use that to charge my phone. It's just, a high-powered USB-C that I can use for all that stuff, and then cut down on other charging things that I might need to do
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
Something we both travel with is an external battery.
Yep.
And we have different ones. The one that I have is actually quite old.
Yeah.
Like this is probably 7 or 8 years old.
They're both Anchor batteries. They make
Yeah.
really good batteries. This is relatively new. I think I got this just last year for a big international trip that I was taking to Asia, and this has got me through a lot. This can charge my laptop. It
Yeah.
has enough charge in here
Yeah.
to charge my MacBook Pro the full way. So I've tested it on my Switch 2. I actually been using this around the house with my Switch 2.
Okay.
Because, I play in handheld mode and I've been having these battery, getting used to the battery
Yeah.
life. I've just, walk around with this thing around the house and then plug my Switch in, even though I'm at home, so I can just have it be more mobile. And it works so good. It's
Right.
so easy. It charges fast. This thing recharges really fast too. So another trick you can do if you're on like an airplane or something is just like charge this with the seat
Oh, yeah,
plug.
yeah.
And then when your Switch
Have it
runs
ready.
out, you have it ready to go.
Yeah, so yours has 2 USB-C outputs. Again, mine's a little bit older. It has mostly the USB-A ones, so
Yeah.
I have to have a USB-A
Oh, yeah.
to a USB-C to use it. No, these are kind of more on the heavy duty side. I think these are
Yeah.
around like $50-ish, but they
Yes.
do also have smaller ones that will still work. You just will get less
Yeah.
juice out of them, and you can find those for like, I don't know, $20 bucks
Yeah,
or
this
so.
is a bit heavy as well, I will
Yeah,
say.
it is.
So, that's a trade-off for like a heavier duty battery, but I find this to be great for traveling because it works on my Switch too, but also on a lot of my other devices.
And
as well.
again, I'm still using this one. I haven't felt the need to upgrade.
Exactly.
It's a
You've
good
had it for a long
investment.
time.
You will
Yeah.
have it for a long time, and I think Anchor's the brand that most people would say. They're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they're kind of the experts in that.
Yeah.
Headphones.
Yes.
Don't be the person blare. I've seen this more and more.
Don't do.
What is going on?
And sometimes it's inappropriate
Somebody just
stuff.
blaring an iPad like on a crowded flight. It's
I've
like,
seen a lot of
sir.
people watching TikToks on a crowded flight, and some of those TikToks are inappropriate, sir. Please turn off your
no.
inappropriate. There are children amongst
Yes.
us on the airplane. You shouldn't be watching your inappropriate
So don't
TikToks.
do that.
Don't be that person.
Get
Don't
some
be
headphones.
Rude.
Bring some headphones.
Yes,
What do you have here?
I have the Raycon Everyday headphones. We do these ads for them. This is not an ad.
No.
I actually use this, and
We genuinely like these.
I
yes.
genuinely love this, and it works very well. Bluetooth, it works. It doesn't have an issue. I hate it when
The
it's like-
Bluetooth is if you use Bluetooth on the Switch one, it was clunky. It's much better actually.
It's so much better, and my problem is that I don't want to fuss with it. I don't want it to be like, it's not connected. You have to push the button, push that button. I'll take it out of your ear and push that other button. I was like, no, I don't want to push any more buttons. I want it to work. So this never fails. It always works. It always connects. No issues. Good sound quality. Good battery life.
Yes.
This is better battery life than the Switch 2. So.
Yeah. You know what's even less fuss is something with a wire.
Well, the wire is fussy for me.
The wire's fussy.
The wire is like
but you don't have to worry about that.
And whatever.
So
yeah.
I always bring these with me because you can just plug right in. This is from, who makes this? Panasonic. This is like $10.
These are so cheap.
They're cheap,
so cheap.
But again, they work. The sound quality is good. It goes right into your ear. You don't have to worry about connecting or a battery or anything like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I do also have a bigger over-the-ear. I have the Beats, I think it's the Beats Studio Pro.
Sometimes your ears can get tired if you're on a long flight.
Is the one that I have.
It feels tired, yeah.
But I find I don't always bring those with me on a flight because you have to fold them up and they have a nice carrying case.
But it's another thing to put in the bag.
That's another thing to go in the bag. So frankly, a lot of the time I just roll with these because it's small, it's convenient, it works.
Yeah.
And it's like, every inch in that backpack is important.
And you gotta lug it around when you're traveling.
Yeah.
Like you have to eventually leave the airplane and carry your bag with you to wherever your next destination is.
That's
and if you're like getting on a train or a bus or whatever, it's a pain. To lug it around.
Yeah. So that's
smaller is better,
right?
You know.
So that's kind of the bare minimum of what we would typically bring with us on any trip that we're taking with the Switch 2. But I want to talk now about some special considerations that just make traveling with the Switch 2 a little bit different than the Switch 1 that you should be prepared for. So we talked about the battery and power. Yes. And it is important to note that the Switch 2 does have higher power requirements than the original Switch. So if you are just going to say, well, I'm just going to bring my original Switch brick with me, that's a USB-C charger, that'll be fine. You probably will be able to charge.
But it's going to be slow.
But, and the worst feeling is you're on a plane, you're low battery, you plug it in, you're getting some juice, but the battery's still going down. Yeah, you are using more battery than you are putting
enough power
into it. So that's why you need to kind of actually look a little bit more closely. They tell you about this in Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. They will explain this to you.
What idiot doesn't know that?
In great detail. Apparently, listen. I think a lot of people may not, they just assume like, oh, it's the same thing. So you need to go docked mode, you need 60 watts and you need 18 watts to play handheld. 60 watts is a lot, that's docked though.
That's a lot.
Not everybody's going to be doing docked when you are on
an airplane. If you do docked on an airplane, I want to see it.
So this is why, again, I am bringing the Switch 2 powered brick with me because I don't want to have any like, oh, well, it's not exactly. No, this is exactly.
You need the bigger. It says on your power brick what it is.
Calibrated for that.
Every power brick has it. Just look at it.
If you have a Steam Deck, that comes with a pretty big brick as well. That also will work for the Switch 2.
Just look at the brick though.
It's a similar situation, right? Again, just don't be in that situation where you're still plugged in, but the battery is going down. That's something that you want to avoid. So the Switch 2, you mentioned that being on the plane. A lot of times they do have the plugs down under. Not always. Sometimes they have the USB built into like the console or whatever.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
So the power brick, you can take the wire. It detaches, which is good.
Yes.
So then, it wasn't like that on the Switch 1.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So then you will have a USB-C to a USB-C. Something you may want to get just to be safe is one of these other little adapters that will turn a USB-C into a USB-A. This is actually the opposite. This takes a USB-A and turns it into a USB-C.
There's other ones that you can.
So there are these very small ones that just go on the end, or these ones will give you a little bit more wire. These are very inexpensive. Like I think I got 3 of these for like $10.
Yeah.
This isn't. I don't know why I have an Apple one. It's much more expensive.
Someone must have given that to you.
You don't need that. But again, if you are getting paranoid about like what exactly am I plugging into to get the power, couldn't hurt to have every potential variation of things that you could be plugging into.
Yeah, I don't know if that middle console gives you enough power though.
It's better than nothing.
Better, that's true.
Better
if you're desperate,
any port in a storm, okay?
Oh, literally a port.
Yes.
And a port.
See?
Whoa,
See?
weird.
Look at what I'm doing here. Another thing, and this is just a general travel tip. If you're traveling internationally, maybe you're traveling internationally for the first time.
Yeah.
Different countries use different types of plugs.
Yes.
So I'm going to France. I got this thing. This is also from Anker. Not a sponsor, they just make good stuff. So this is what the plugs in France look like. This is what the plug, this is for Great Britain, Ireland, Africa, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Very different. You will not be jamming your USA plug into that.
No.
So
hotels, will help you.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends.
Be prepared.
Depends on your hotel.
Obviously be prepared, but
yes.
Usually if you're like, oh no, I don't have the correct whatever.
Depends on your hotel, I would say.
Hotel may at least point you to the electronic store.
Right. And I like this one because it plugs in, you have this plug, and then on the bottom, you have a USB-A and 2 USB-Cs, and then another plug for your US device on the top. So this is a handy thing.
Do not try to
get.
jam your plug into an outlet because it will blow out.
You're going to have a problem.
It might blow out your switch.
You are going to have a problem, yes.
I would not recommend
It's not something to
That's
play.
actually happened to somebody. I've seen it happen to somebody.
It's not something to play around with.
They plugged it in and it literally blew the fuse inside of their switch.
Yeah.
So do not do that.
No.
You will ruin it.
More battery talk. So on a previous video, we said the Switch 2 has a feature that charges the battery to about 85% to extend the life of the battery. And that's something that we continue to do because we want, long term to have good battery life. But if you're going on a plane and you are relying on that battery, I'm going to be turning that off.
Yeah, charge it all the way.
And I'm going to charge it all the way so I can get as much use out of that before I even need to do any of this other stuff.
Also, turn off your brightness all the way down, obviously.
Yeah, there's other stuff
do all that stuff that you can do to try to save your battery for as long as possible before you need to plug it in.
Right.
Also, if you're like a person in a middle seat, just commandeer that plug right away when you get on the plane. That's what I do.
Because usually there's 3 seats and there's only 2.
And I literally, the moment I got on the plane, I was like, mine.
You gotta claim it.
I want to, yes.
You must claim it.
I was traveling alone. There were 2 strangers next to me. I wasn't going to let them have one of the
strangers.
plugs. I wasn't going to, for sure wasn't going to talk to them about, can I use that plug?
Oh no.
I wasn't going to do that. Let me tell you.
Here's another word of warning. There was a type of accessory for the original Switch.
Oh, yes.
I think I would call it like a travel dock. An example of this is the Genki Covert Dock, which is
pretty cool.
A great product. It was just like a small thing that was a dock and you could just plug everything into it and you could play it on a TV.
It's pretty cool.
There's not really a Switch 2 travel dock right now.
Yeah.
Those Switch 1 travel docks do not work with the Switch 2. I think it has to do, again, with the higher power requirements that those things are not outputting.
Right.
So if you see something that's advertising like, oh, it's a travel dock for the Switch 2, just be a little skeptical of that. I haven't really seen, maybe if there's something in the comments that people can vouch for, but also a lot of those you would occasionally hear stories like, oh my gosh, it bricked my Switch because, again, there was something that was not completely working with the internals of the device. For me right now, that's
not a risk you're willing to take.
It's a stay away for me right now.
Yeah.
I want something to come from a reputable company.
Exactly.
For that category before I even think about it.
Honestly, we have seen stuff like that happen to people's Switches before, so I would say don't risk it.
Exactly.
Just play in handheld mode or tabletop mode. If you are playing handheld or tabletop mode and you want better audio though.
Oh yes, this.
I do travel around with a portable speaker as well. This has a auxiliary cable.
Oh, the aux.
The aux is right here.
Hit me with the aux.
Get hit with an aux. I have been taking this around with me for a long time. It works really well. You can use this, put your Switch in tabletop mode, and then put the speaker on, and then play multiplayer games is a lot easier because the audio is so much better.
Don't do this on the airplane.
Unless you got the plane involved. Everyone on the plane is playing.
Private jet?
If you're on
if you're on the PJ.
If you're on the PJ, you may not need any of this stuff. Maybe a butler will hand you a speaker on a silver platter. I don't know. But this works really well for playing games. If you're with a lot of people. I was on a family vacation.
Sure.
We all wanted to play Smash.
Sure.
And we only had tabletop mode available, so we were playing 8-player Smash, but with a speaker, and it was awesome. It was really fun.
Be the hero of the family reunion.
I was the hero.
Good.
Aunt Krysta
Good.
was the hero.
Wonderful. Last thing, if you have Nintendo Switch Online, you have access to this great library of retro games. I enjoy on flights checking in on the latest retro game releases. I just go one by one. Oh, let's check this out. Let's check that out. There is an annoying feature about these that you need to be careful of, which is if you haven't opened those apps in a while, it will ping the internet to make sure that your subscription is active and let you open it.
Yeah.
So this has happened to both of us, where it's like, oh yes, here we go, Super Nintendo games.
It doesn't work.
And it's like, must connect to internet. Burn, you are not connected, and therefore you cannot play these games.
Yeah. So just connect right before.
It's annoying. So just the day before, if you think you're going to play those, just boot them up So it can do that, check. I forget exactly how long that's good for, but it's like you're fine for a couple days at a minimum.
Yeah.
Just don't get stuck being like, oh.
Because then your whole library of NSO
this.
games,
Right.
you wouldn't be able to play them,
yeah.
which really sucks.
It's an annoying.
It's a really annoying feature. I wish they wouldn't do that.
Right.
Obviously, you've charged my credit card, so you know that I'm a member.
Yes.
Like, why do you need to check my system? What am I doing?
All the time. What suspicious thing am I doing?
Nothing.
No, I agree.
Anyways.
So, those are our great Switch 2 travel tips.
Yes.
And some things that you might want to think about picking up if you're traveling. And most of all, enjoy your trip.
Yeah, it's great to have a Nintendo Switch, take it with us when we're traveling. Like, this is like my go-to thing that I always, I never leave. I've never left my Switch behind on a trip. Like, it's always come with me on a trip. So I'm very glad that now that we have a Switch 2, we can continue that great tradition of taking it on the go with us when we go places. I think you're very glad because you won't be like left behind on a lot of these games while you're on your vacation. Right. So yeah, as long as you're prepared, you can have a great time traveling with your Switch. But yeah, hopefully you guys have some lovely summer vacations planned. If you're going somewhere, let us know where you're going in the comments. Are you one of those people that take your Switch with you, or we've also heard from people that are like, I don't take my Switch with me.
Okay.
It is only at home. So I want to know what your travel habits are. Let us know. All right, we are going to wrap this up and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.